Hey guys! So now I will go over two more tabs in the workbook. We'll go over the expenses tab and the summary tab. So the expenses tab is the last of the three tabs that you will be entering data into. This is the data entry portion of bookkeeping. This one is just a very simple tracker to track any expenses that you had for reselling because, tax deductible. Talk to your CPA. So here I have some examples, basically saying what date did you do the transaction, where'd you buy it, what the item is, and how much you paid. Very simple. You're welcome to add in more columns if you want to here. Really up to you. But what you really don't want to do is delete any of these columns because they're identifying what year and month those happened. So this goes back to if you want to clear anything, you want to highlight, right click, and delete. If you press the backspace button, those formulas will delete. So that's why you don't want to do that. So my fifth reselling expense happened today on January 24th, 2019. And the store I went to was Etsy, reselling for profit. And the item is the tracking workbook. The amount is $30. And so yeah, now it's recorded. And now in your summary tab, it'll show that you spent $30 and all this other money during the month. Okay, time for the summary tab, which is a summary of all your transactions and all your data entry that you've been doing. I know it's a lot of information, but it really depends on what you want to reference. So you're welcome to actually hide different columns as you see fit. I try to add in as many things as people might be interested in because different people worry about different things, but it's all there for you. So the way that the summary tab works is that it summarizes the data for the year that you select. And here I put a bunch of options. If you are still using it in 2022, reach out to me and I'll add 2022 to this. So don't forget, you can reach out to me on resellingforprofit.com. I'm also on Instagram. But yeah, so the very top section, you'll see that it's your 2019 sales and it's broken out by month. At the bottom, you have a running total for your gross sales, your net sales, the cost of your sales, so your cost of goods sold, anything you donated, and your profit. Your profit is a calculation of your net sales, so your net earnings after any of the fees that didn't get into your bank account, minus the cost of the items, minus donations. So it really depends how you do your taxes and bookkeeping, but this is how I look at profit personally, because your donations are considered like cost of goods sold. You went out and actually got the item, and you were going to sell it, but you didn't. Really depends how you want to look at it. If you want to change it, let me know, and I can kind of specify it for you. So the next column is sourcing, and that will summarize all the receipts that you put in for that month, in that year, and how much you spent. For this column, your expenses is a summary of the expenses you put in. So you already spent $150 on your expenses. Cash flows. Cash flows I like to put in here because a lot of times we source more than we sell in a month. Who's had that happen? Or almost had that happen? Well, basically this is saying that the net money that you got from the platforms into your bank account, minus how much you spent on items in that month, minus all the money you spent on like tissue paper, that's how much cash flow, inflow or outflow that you had. So actually you're negative 73 because you spent a lot on your expenses. Now some of these other columns, for example, you have average days to sell, which is being pulled by basically taking the difference between your order date and your listing date. You have your items sold, so it's a count of all the sales in that month and year. The items you bought, so if you sold 20 and you bought 200, what should you be doing? Listing. Just kidding. I know sometimes it can be tempting, but this is where hopefully it'll motivate you. So then we have the average selling price, which is basically your gross sales, so the price that the customer paid divided by the item sold. The ASP, as a lot of people like to mention. You have your average earnings, so that's just your net sales over the items you sold. The average cost is your cost of goods divided by the items that you sold, so what's your average cost of sales? And then you have your average profit per item. And your ROI, which we talked about in a different video. So that's your total summary for all your platforms. Right now, the screen is a little bit frozen because I'm going to use the scroll bar. I'm using my mouse pad. But as you can see, it summarizes it for you for all the different platforms that you use. And the idea is that you want to know how you're doing in all the different platforms each month. And the information is summarized like that. So these are referencing your platforms that you selected in the sales tab. So these 5 cells are pretty important. That's how your data will be summarized. So these are all subtotals. And at the very bottom, I have a little feature that I like to see how much I've actually sold of my personal items. So if you selected personal in that drop down on the sales tab, it'll summarize the data here. So yeah, that is it for the summary tab. It's a lot of formulas, but once you understand what's going on, I think you'll find it useful. It's a great running track of kind of what you've been selling, how much you've been buying, and really your profit and your cash flows. Those are very important. You want to be generating profit, cash, so to keep on buying inventory, to keep paying bills. But yeah, that sums up my summary of all the different tabs. I've gone through entering your items in the inventory tab. I've gone through entering your sales transactions. And I've talked about tracking your expenses in the expenses tab. And we reviewed the summary tab for a total sales breakdown. And so stay tuned for more videos where I talk more about these sales analysis tabs and the inventory analysis tabs. That's a little bit more tough, but let me know if you have any questions about what I presented in these videos. Thanks. Bye.